The impersonal does not negate the personal. It is the dilemma of the human condition to consider that these are separate, but everything is personal and impersonal, all and nothing at the same time. Taking on a personal responsibility for your life is an act of sovereignty, of taking control of your own creations. Allowing what is expressed through your physical body is what allows you to release what is present and not be trapped by the stories therein. You walked into this body knowing that certain traumas would exist and take place throughout your lifetime. Those are meant to help you and your own soul evolve, to experience new levels of creation beyond the story that you walked into. That means ultimate freedom. Hello, my name is Eluña. I'm an Akashic channeler and a psycho-spiritual healer and teacher. Today I would like to talk about this paradox of the personal and the impersonal. I have been going through a lot of transformation in my own life, personal and work-related as well, and I have really been contemplating this concept of what does it mean to have something be personal or to be impersonal. Because when I think about it from one perspective, I was speaking to a friend actually the other day about this notion or philosophy of radical non-duality. And in that philosophy, what is talked about is that nothing is personal. And so every thought, action, and behavior that you have is not actually you. It's a representation of what is meant to come through you, because that is how spirit or God is supposed to be representing itself. It's just happening. And that also applies to every other being and person around you. In that principle, we would not judge another person. We would simply acknowledge that whatever is moving through them is exactly what is supposed to be moving through them. That is my very limited and basic understanding from having a conversation with a friend, that's part of what radical non-duality teaches. And I've really been sitting with that notion. And what has come up for me is when I think about the 4 sacred agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, what he talks about from his own indigenous upbringing. And one of those principles is to not take anything personally. And I have been practicing the 4 sacred agreements since I learned about them many years ago now when I was a teenager. And to not take anything personally is, of course, a challenge. It can be challenging. And yet, when I think about this notion of it is all God, why would I take it personally? If I do genuinely believe that everything is a representation of the Creator, of the One, then why would I take it personally? Unless I'm going to take everything personally, because it's all God. So I've been sitting with that. And the other piece that has been playing a role for me is this notion of the oponopono prayer. And the oponopono practice is an indigenous practice that comes from the Polynesian islands and Hawaii specifically. And a while ago, there was a mystic, a Hawaiian mystic, that brought this practice to the West. And then a psychologist, a man, used that practice to create a prayer and a mantra. And in that, essentially took on the responsibility of the people that he was serving, the clients that were in the ward that he was working in, the patients, I should say. He took on their condition like it was his own, and also like it was his responsibility that they were experiencing what they were experiencing. That is this very interesting relationship of taking something on in a very personal way. And when he did that, he actually healed those people. These were people in a criminally insane ward, and many of them were discharged and their symptoms relieved because of his work with the Ho'oponopono prayer practice that he would speak over their files. That is fascinating to consider. What does it mean to take on personal responsibility like it is your own, and to seek forgiveness from the divine like it is your own act that you have committed, but yet not take it on so personally that it weighs you down and brings you into shame or guilt of some kind? It's a very interesting path to walk, and I know that everyone faces this, especially in this world. If someone is just considering what it means to be a person of empathy, then they are going to be faced with this dilemma of taking something personally or not taking it personally, taking responsibility or not taking responsibility. And I have been thinking about this, really contemplating and meditating on this topic now for some time, and trying to understand more. How does that relate to our human experience? How can we find clarity and really understand what is our role? Where does our responsibility lie? Where is the edge of my personal experience and your personal experience beginning? Where does that happen? If we live in a quantum field and a quantum universe, then that means every thought that we have actually is part of the creation that we are experiencing, which means my thoughts affect you. So how do we take personal responsibility for our thoughts and yet not hold someone else personally accountable for their behavior at the same time, and not take their behavior personally? You see the dilemma and this overlapping seeming contradiction and paradox. And anytime there is a paradox present, I tend to sniff them out very easily. Anytime there is a paradox present, I know that there is truth and I know there is power, because the universe loves to speak in riddles and parables and metaphor. And so there is a paradox here, and I want to understand it. And I know that there are many people who have or have had similar situations like this, where it has really been present in their life of what is personal, what is not. So when I tuned in to ask about this question, they told me to come make a transmission about it to share with other people. I just wanted to tune in for myself, and they told me to share it with others. So that is what I'm doing. And they also said specifically that it was the three guides who wanted to speak about this, which not surprising, but also a little surprising to me. So I'm going to tune in and just see what they have to say. They already know what my questions are, which means they already have something prepared. So I'm just going to tune in and see what they have to say. Okay, thank you. The impersonal does not negate the personal. It is the dilemma of the human condition to consider that these are separate. That is the nature of duality, dualistic thinking. It is both one and the same. Everything is personal and impersonal. That is the nature of the absolute, to be all and nothing at the same time. Therefore, your own experience is both personal and impersonal. The practice, then, is to understand and discover when to use the tools of impersonal and when to use the tools of personal. Taking on a personal responsibility for your life is an act of sovereignty. It is an act of taking control of your own creations. Allowing what is expressed through your physical body in an impersonal way is what allows you to release what is present and not take it on personally or be trapped by the stories therein. In other words, the traumas that are trapped within your physical vessel are not to be taken personally. They are to be looked at impersonally. They are to be understood from a perspective that you came into this life, you walked into this body in a certain sense, knowing that these traumas existed and that certain traumas would exist and take place throughout your lifetime. Those are meant to help you and your own soul evolve, for you to experience new levels of soul sovereignty, to experience new levels of creation beyond the story that you walked into. This is an expression of personal power, of soul sovereignty. It is not meant to be taken personally, lest you be trapped by the stories associated with every trauma in your body. If you enter a body that has ancestral trauma regarding addiction of any kind, and you take it on personally, you may begin to identify as one who has some sort of disease of addiction. We tell you this is not an appropriate way to support your own self releasing this trauma. You are taking on the story of being a diseased person with addiction instead of someone who is dealing with an addiction. They are both stories. They both trap you. Instead, it is to be understood from an impersonal perspective that you entered a family heritage that holds addiction in the narrative of the family, of the ancestry. You are to look at this impersonally and then identify from a personal way how you can take responsibility for this experience in the family by doing your own healing, by working with your own creator inside, by entering your own heart space to create new stories, to create new healing in this ancestry. That is how you work both the personal and impersonal within your life. We wish to say further, taking the impersonal perspective when you are walking through your day, noticing the world around you as an observer is a good practice for the heart and mind. There are days and times to enter fully into your experience and the experience of your senses. And there are days and times to practice non-senses and to be only the observer, to see from the eyes of the poet above, instead of seeing from the human personality that you inhabit. This practice and moving between these two perspectives will allow you to equally move between the personal and impersonal moment to moment throughout your day. It is helpful to practice these different perspectives for extended periods of time before moving to a shortened period of time, before moving to a moment-to-moment period of time, switching between the two, until eventually you switch between the two seamlessly. You are able to have a bifocal vision, seeing from both personal and impersonal. You practice until they overlap into one focus, one perspective. That perspective becomes omniscient. The experience of the absolute is both personal and impersonal. You are able to practice until you hold the perspective of personal and impersonal. This is part of omniscience. This is the perspective of the absolute. Thank you very much for that. I would like to ask if there is a practice with more specific direction that could be given around this sharing of personal and impersonal perspective, as you said? Is there a way to practice this? Okay. Thank you. My energy stays with me. Your energy stays with you. Well, that was quite an experience for me energetically. I have not actually been able to feel them like that in quite some time. And that was an adjustment, actually. So I hope that you found that helpful. When I asked them, I almost forgot, when I asked them that question about having a specific practice with what they were talking about with the personal and impersonal perspective and omniscience, they said. Right. Now I'm seeing again what they showed me. How amazing. I'm going to have to contemplate that more. And that's actually what they encouraged me to do, is they actually encouraged me to sit with this transmission again and consider and contemplate what a practice would look like. So they're giving me some homework to do with this, which I'm very happy to have and to do. And what is occurring to me right now is that I would like to share that practice when it comes through. And in fact, this next month in November, I am starting a whole new series of things with my membership called The Circle. That's where I go really deep into different teachings and look into the Akashic Records and very specific things that come up for almost an hour and a half sometimes there. And the other piece that I do is hold live events with my whole community. And so we do a meditation together every month, as well as a live Q&A. And I am now also holding live seminars and workshops every single month. There have just been so many teachings that have come through. I've been so blessed to receive so much, and I really want to be able to share them with more people. And so instead of kind of stockpiling them, I want to just share them. And that is a place that I'm able to do that in a really safe container within our own community, and talk about it, be able to talk about it also, because paired with that membership is a private social media page and entire system. So it is a little bit like a private Facebook, you could say, that is just for the Circle community, that has been custom made for my community and for all of the different pieces. And we update it regularly just based on what members are asking for. And so when I start these live seminars and workshops next month, this topic is actually what I wanted to cover. And I wanted to go deeper into it with more people after I had had some time to sit with it even more. And now that I've been given this piece of homework, I'm realizing that that is what I'm going to be able to bring to you, is this teaching of whatever the practice is that comes through for moving between the personal and the impersonal. It is so important to understand the power of being able to hold that perspective. That is a level of self-empowerment and sovereignty that is difficult to consider what could match that, actually. Because if we have the ability to move between that at any time seamlessly, and or if we are able to practice enough that we can actually hold both of those perspectives simultaneously, that is ultimate freedom. That means that we are holding a perspective that is neither attached and it's also not non-attached, which is, I know, a paradox. But that means we are living, the only word I can think to say is from an enlightened perspective, because what that means is we are exactly living out this experience in this body and living out the experience of spirit in our day-to-day life. And again, I'm absolutely going to have to sit with this, really contemplate this, and hopefully ask more questions if they allow me to really understand. But that's really a key to freedom, is that being able to practice this. So, and I would say it's not necessarily going in with the idea of you have to master it, but practicing it with the intention of mastering it, that's a significant piece to freedom in this lifetime, because that means that you're not going to get karmic hooks, the hooks of guilt, get into shame spirals. That's not going to happen if you are able to hold this perspective or seamlessly move between the two at the least. So there is a lot more to say about that and to look into. And I am more excited than I was before because I am actually really understanding why this has been sitting with me for so long, because this is a significant power to have. And it's something that we can all do because we are spirit and we are God, which means we have the ability to do this. It's just a matter of practice. So, thank you very much for considering all of this and really thinking for your own self also about what does it mean to have a practice of holding a personal and impersonal perspective. And there's so much more to say about this. I will wait, though. I will wait. And I'm really looking forward, hopefully, to seeing you in the next live event that I hold on Zoom. And I get to say hi to everyone. It's probably, they're my favorite days of the month, honestly, is when I get to hold live events with my members. I absolutely love gathering with everyone. It's such a beautiful community. You will feel it. If you just come in, you will feel it. Then you can't not, because everyone is so heartfelt and just beautiful. They're just sincerely beautiful beings. So if you are interested in finding out more, please go to my website, eluñanoel.com. And I hope to see you there. And until I see you again, may you remember your magic today.